All right. Happy Friday and good afternoon, everyone. We appreciate you joining us for our town hall today. We'll give it just a couple of moments to get everybody in here that needs to be in, and then we'll get rolling and we'll introduce special guest Chuck Sapp today from Raymond James, and we're excited about it. So happy Friday and thanks for joining. All right, let's get started. My name is Nathan Bennett, managing partner at Summit Financial Group. Most of you guys know that already, but for those who don't, welcome. We do these client town halls virtually every so often, and we just appreciate being able to share information with you guys. Today's kind of a special day. We have Chuck Sapp with us from Raymond James Technology, and cybersecurity has just become a much bigger deal for all of us and all our clients. And I don't know if it seems that way to all of you, but it certainly feels to us like the scams are getting more sophisticated and it's getting harder and harder not to defend yourself. And so we asked Chuck to join us. Chuck runs what's called the security. He's a security awareness specialist for Raymond James. His job is to go around and help all of us be better at this, up into including the board of directors for Raymond James proper. So he's literally choosing the technologies and the guests and the people that are involved to help us do this better. There is no one better to talk about cybersecurity than Chuck, and we're really grateful to have him. So, Chuck, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Nathan, Cody, and everyone else. Thank you for your time today. My name is Chuck Sapp. I'm the security awareness specialist here at Raymond James Financial. I've been in the position for roughly 4 years, so I've definitely learned a lot, but I keep learning new things every year or even every day as kind of new scams evolve. So I'll kind of go over here quickly. This is just a brief bio about me. I think just the best part of this for me is like one of my lines at the end that there's like really no password recovery hints hiding within my bio. It's typical for us, especially as we remember the past. We think about, what was your high school mascot? What was your first car? What was this? And even when we create some new accounts today, there are kind of forms like that out there. But that was, even though it was pretty unique at the time, I think the security industry or just everyone realized a lot of people can get this information. They just talk to you. If they just say, hey, what high school did you go to in Tampa, Florida? And, what was your mascot again? And so, that's kind of like a way of social engineering. We will talk about that, but it's always like a kind of like a clever way for folks to maybe kind of get to know us. I was at a client event one time, and I had heard, someone speaking about they have a new dog. It was 2 years old. And so I was just listening, just on the side, like in the distance. They didn't even realize that I was there. And when I was speaking, I kind of pointed to them and said, hey, you look like you're a dog owner. And they're like, yes. And I was like, it is a young dog. And they're like, how did you know? And I just knew because I was listening. I was trying to figure out how could I use that information to my advantage. And that's what I did. So we have to watch out for threats like that all the time. It's not like where it used to be where someone would ask you information and not really know anything about you. So the first thing...
We're grateful, Chuck, for you to be here. I'm actually going to hide my camera just so that we can give you the floor to go do it. But just for the team to know, Chuck's got a presentation for us on all manner of cybersecurity. And then at the end, we'll come back with a couple of things we're doing to help clients and maybe some ways that we can help keep you safe going forward. So thanks again, Chuck. We're going to let you cook for a minute.
Thank you, sir. And you do see my presentation, right?
Yep, we're good.
Okay,
Looks great.
Okay. The one thing I really want to start off, and I'll kind of end the conversation with this, is our cybersecurity assurance to you or to our clients. And what I really want to know or focus on first is the 153 quarters of profitability. And this isn't to say, to kind of tout the great decisions the firm has made, the partnerships, the advisors that we have here. That's all really important to kind of keep the firm going and be profitable through all these years. But it would have been more had we not made one decision in October 1987. And some of you may remember it was referred to as Black Monday. The stock market was, crashing. There was just all this kind of chaos at the time because we didn't have technology like we do today where we could easily find out information, what's going on. It was definitely a different time back then. And Tom James, the son of our founder, Bob James, had even mentioned it was really hard to contact larger firms to just kind of know what's the price of some things, what's going on, because it was complete chaos for them. And at times, like they were maybe closing their doors and, kind of like ripping their phones out the wall. But Raymond James did something different, and we weren't going to do that approach. We weren't going to close in the firm and say, this is, we don't know yet. We'll have to wait. we serviced or we served our clients to what our clients wanted to do. And in that case, it ended up being a non-profitable quarter for us once kind of like the dust settled. And I say that because I really wanted the focus to be, that's what we did during a very, very difficult time for the firm as a whole, or really even for our economy as a whole, where we served our clients and put their needs first. We do the same thing with our cybersecurity presence. We invest a lot of money into information technology, cybersecurity professionals, all this stuff around it. We believe firmly that we have the capability to protect the firm and, more importantly, protect your accounts. So should anything unauthorized happen to your account through no fault of your own, so meaning like Raymond James has a cyber breach or something like that, we would reimburse you, no matter what. And so this is actually on our site. I know other firms have language similar to this, but I really do want to relate the actions we took back in 1987. We didn't choose profitability of the firm over, not serving our clients. We chose serving our clients, and especially for Summit, their clients, as our first priority. And so I really want to touch on that and just make sure that that's known. This next one is it's just a general headline. These are old headlines, but they could be new headlines. Some of these may point out to you in one way, whereas like another headline might grab someone else's attention. We all remember back in a few years ago, MGM had this really big kind of ransomware event. All these different services weren't working. They had to shut computers down. It was all because of some type of event where a threat actor was able to social engineer or manipulate someone into doing something and then kind of compromise the entire system. I ask a lot of people what might stick out to them, and they say easy pass toll fraud. So imagine getting a text or some type of message saying you owe $3.11 for a toll. It's such a small amount. Why wouldn't you just go pay it right away? And then you find out that it was actually a malicious link. So we will talk about some examples like this, but I really think some of the thing here could be, lots of data is moving around. Lots of threat actors are finding different ways to obtain that data. Maybe they're hiring someone on the inside of a phone company to, essentially give them control of your phone number. We often rely on our phones for those multi-factor authentication codes. You log into your bank, email address, password, you get the code to your phone. And if the threat actor has control of that, now they may have control of your account if they know your username and password. So lots of things going on here, and I'll talk about some of the things that will, I think are most important or kind of most common across all threats. And social engineering being the biggest one of them. Back in the day, we used to probably say like, oh, that person's a con man or con woman. They kind of like they have the gift of the gab. They kind of pressure you into something. I don't know if you're like me. I go shopping and I have someone saying, hey, like what phone carrier do you use? I'm like, no, it's okay. I don't want anything. And then they just kind of keep trying to pressure you into a conversation. And for me, I fall for it. I'll sit there and listen to them, even though I really don't want it. And that's just kind of sneaky. Of course, they're trying to make a sale. They might try to put on a better product to you, but a threat actor might be trying to find an information that they could leverage for something else. Maybe they're calling you up and they're just asking general details about something so that they could use those details for another attack somewhere else. Or maybe they're just finding out information that might be a shared secret, like I'd mentioned with the high school mascot, what's your first car, and things like that. And it's always kind of interesting because, we often feel like we make, I guess, maybe not the most easiest decisions when we're tired, when we feel rushed, especially when we're afraid or excited. I'll give you one real life example happened today, maybe not the best example to give you. I went to my daughter, she had just graduated and in her grade level, and on the way home there was a large wicker chair in the middle of like the freeway. I go around it and I decide to stop because I'm just thinking like, this could be something bad, because actually the car in front of me kind of swerved at the last second, and then I was faced with a decision. And so I'm running towards the chair and I notice that there's two cars coming up towards it, but the middle lane's empty, and I'm like trying to shoo them away. I'm like, hey, like go here, go this way. And what do? One person goes the way I don't want them to, and now I'm kind of in danger, and the other one goes around. And I just say that because you're driving, everything's fine, and now all of a sudden something urgent happens and you make a decision. And it may not have been the right decision, or maybe it was the right decision, but this is the same thing that can happen to us with some type of threat. You get a phone call from a fraud team of your department, or maybe your bank, And now all of a sudden you're a little concerned, you're worried, you don't get phone calls like this, or maybe you know that you just traveled internationally and you were kind of maybe suspecting you might get some phone calls or something just to follow up, but you weren't sure, and now you do. You think it might be related, you think it might be legit. And there's lots of ways people could do this. They do this via email. We do have piggybacking in here, like they could follow you into like a controlled environment. So maybe like a closed off, apartment complex, condo complex, like something with like special access. Lots of different ways that people could do this. But I think the most critical thing is that they're looking to manipulate your emotions. They're looking to manipulate your trust. The FBI had recently put something out. It was within the last year or so, that threat actors were actually paying, they were creating sponsored web search ads, so like on Google, and they were posing as the FBI's Internet Crime and Complaint Center. So could you imagine me typing in, or me thinking I was the victim of a fraud or scam, and I say, okay, I know I should report this to the FBI so that they at least have it in their database. So I go to Google, I say FBI scam or something, I see the first thing that pops up, report fraud here to the FBI. I click on it, enter my information, and if I get a phone call from someone saying they're Special Agent Chuck, I'm going to believe it's Special Agent whoever, because I had just proceeded with that. Unbeknownst to me, I didn't realize it was a sponsored ad in my search results, and had I gone down maybe a little bit further, I would have saw the legitimate site for the FBI. You couldn't have convinced me otherwise that I was not talking to an FBI agent. I would have totally believed you. They could have said, we're also engaged with your bank's fraud team. We're engaged with your mortgage, all this other stuff, and they would have had me, right? So we just have to watch out for things like that, because really, threat actors are just thinking of the most cleverest ways to try to trick us. The biggest thing that I'm typically seeing these days, for me at least, is a lot of phishing or voice phishing phone calls. I get constant numbers all the time, and it's so easy these days, I think, with technology, for someone to have a whole set of numbers, for them to rotate through them frequently. You really never know who's on there. And then the other side of that is, it's illegal to spoof or to put in like a fake phone number to pose as someone else. But bad actors, they don't care about that. They're going to maybe spoof a familiar number to you, and then you might be thinking that you're actually speaking to someone who's legitimate because you recognize the number. So we typically see things like this. And when I say we, I just mean in cybersecurity headlines of something like this happening. Of course, they're impersonating someone. Maybe it's your bank's fraud department. I'm going to pick on the bank's fraud department a lot in this talk. Maybe it's someone else. But the goals are simple. They're the same. They're contacting you. They're asking you questions that kind of catch you off guard. Maybe you're driving down the road and you see someone pointing one way and you go the other, right? And then before you know it, it kind of seems like you're too deep, you're too far into this. And I think the scary thing is that they may even sound like they know exactly what they're talking about. There's really no emotion. They sound professional. This sounds like they do this for a living. And it's really for us to decide, So we're going to talk about a few examples around this, but it's all really the same. Someone contacting you for information, they're either posing as something, and we kind of, consider this type of attack a phishing. Now for smishing, or for SMS text phishing messages, we see this a lot during the holidays. You're going to see, UPS trying to deliver a package to you, or the United States Postal Service trying to deliver a package to you. And, there was an incomplete address detail. Please click on this link or copy it to another browser, because it's not like an actual hyperlink that's active right now. Or, press Y to reply Y, or reply 1, and we'll get back to you. A lot of these are fake for the most part. And so this is a real life example of one that I had received, who I thought was from the UK, because I was actually asking folks in the UK, hey, can you send me some things at work? And I'm thinking maybe this is legit, it has the +44 on there, but I wasn't sure why I was being contacted. I get deliveries at my house all the time, and I didn't know what that website was. And so part of the thing here is, like, a lot of times these will come through like that. Maybe they didn't trip off like any type of, security sensor that maybe a phone carrier might have had or whatever, but they're waiting, or what the bad actor is doing on the other side is they're hoping that someone just replies with a 1, or someone puts that link into a browser. Because if you reply with a 1, now they can send back a legitimate link. And from the phone carrier's perspective, it could look like that person. They texted you, you texted them back, and now they're texting you again. I would always avoid unknown numbers, things like that. But then I thought, And of course, like block and report scam, like all those kind of best practices. But I asked myself, how would I know if the post office was trying to contact me? And so I went to the Inspector General website, and they have it in black and white. This is exactly how we contact you. First of all, we would never send you a link to track a package unless you first engaged us to track a package. I don't know if many of you like me, where I have the service from the post office where they actually scan my mail and send me an email every single day. I think it's a really great service because I kind of know what to expect in my mailbox. Now, the only surprises I get is if I get a scan of mail and something didn't show up, then I'm kind of like wondering, hey, they had 3 pieces of mail in there, but I only received 2. Maybe it'll come the next day. But I would never expect to see something that wasn't in there because I know that the post office has already kind of scanned and sent me ahead of time. So really, the message here is this is with the post office. Understand how they will or will not contact you and kind of what the rules are. But after this conversation, over the next few weeks, understand how will your bank contact you if there was something legitimate going on or a concern. How would you contact them, or what's the best way for them to contact you? What would you do, or what would they ask you to do to verify your account information? And the same thing for Summit. If you were to call Summit, how would they contact you? How would they not contact you? Would Nathan contact you while he was on vacation in Spain? Saying he was away from the office. He's using like a temporary phone because he lost his. He wants you to maybe meet him in a meeting to take some quick action. I could tell you he probably wouldn't be doing that scenario, but you have to understand how that is. Oh, go ahead, Nathan.
I can be sure to tell you I wouldn't do that to you. And most everyone here knows that our protocols, we will always verbally confirm any money moving back and forth. I know, Chuck, you're going to talk a little bit about even how that could be at risk in the future with AI and what we'll do about that too. So just as a reminder for everybody on the call, though, we would definitely verbally confirm with a member of our team with you to make sure it was legitimate before we actually moved any money around. And even then, it's going to your account at your bank. But there are so many ways people can get a hold of everything, and that we're just trying to do our part to be due diligent.
And that's a scary thing these days is things are happening so quick. They're happening so fast. COVID kind of changed a lot of the environment for us. So for me to call some company on the phone and maybe hear a dog barking in the background, it's not really abnormal for me to hear things like that these days. Like I kind of just assume, okay, maybe this person works from home now. And it really is kind of a scary thing. So yeah, look, I say do this ahead of time because you don't want to be in a situation where there's some type of environmental emergency, or there's some type of suspicious but urgent email that you have to reply to, or some type of voice call that you get. You don't want to figure that out then. When your mind is racing a million miles per minute, you really want to do it whenever you have the time to think about it, because the best action for anything is just really stopping, pausing, letting it sit for a while, maybe even speaking with someone that you could confide in and say, hey, what do you think about this situation? Do you think it's a scam? Do you think it's not? So I always say, try to understand what this looks like to you when it's really the best time for you, which is when something's not actively happening. We're going to talk about a toad attack, or telephone-oriented attack delivery. This is sort of the same thing that I mentioned with the phishing. We kind of alluded to it, but I think this is kind of unique in a way that you can either receive an email, maybe receive a text, or maybe even receive a physical letter in the mail claiming to be someone. And when you think about it, I don't really know too many scams that I see in the mail. I mean, I know what junk mail looks like, but if I got a physical letter in the mail saying, hey, this is from your bank's fraud department, please contact us. We've been, we want to get a hold of you, but we're not really sure that your electronic communications are secure. It had me thinking differently, and I might call that number on the email. So this is what happens. I call the number. I don't know that a bad actor is answering because I think I'm speaking to maybe my fraud department, maybe even Best Buy Geek Squad. It could really be anyone. Maybe some scenario happens where they say, hey, we need to actually access your computer. We have to make sure that it's secure before we do something, or please go to this site. We'll install something for you to have secure communication. And of course, you would never want to ask anyone or give anyone access to your machine. And then they might do malicious stuff. Now, let me just give you one example like this around like a Best Buy Geek Squad type of threat. You receive an invoice saying you've been charged, whatever, $600.79. If you want to cancel it or to not be charged, contact this number within 48 hours. And so you just call that number because you've never used them. You don't know what's going on. Maybe someone's, posing as you and whatever. You call them up, they say, hey, we can help you out. Just check your bank account real quick. Have you seen a charge? I don't see a charge on our end. And of course you log into your bank account. Remember, multi-factor authentication, you get the code, all this other stuff. No, I don't see any pending charge, or I don't see anything like that. And they say, great, now what we could do is I need to remove the security keys from your device. Once we do that, this will be completely free and clear. And what I'll do is I'll even give you $50 for your time for this. This should have never went to you. And it seems like someone deployed the security keys to protect your system. So then you say, sure, you give them access to your computer so they can remove these security keys. And unbeknownst to you, what I guess what you didn't realize is that your banking session might still be open with them if you did it like on your browser. And now they're kind of looking at that in the background and just telling you, it'll just take a second. I'm just going through. I want to make sure I don't do anything. And then also, hey, I'm sending the $50 gift card now or the deposit to you. You should see that in your bank account. And then you actually, you go to the bank screen and you say it was $5,000. And then they say, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do this. I must have hit too many zeros. I need you to do me a favor. Our accounting system's changing. I don't know that we'll be able to correct this right away. Could you go to Staples or could you go to Target and buy some gift cards and just pay me that money back? I could accept those and put them back into our system, and then we'll just count everything as fair, right? Of course, it's a complete scam. No one should ever be asking you for gift cards. I only have 2 people in my life who do, and they're my children, right? So that's just kind of like one way that this attack could play out. What would I do if I received this email or piece of mail in the first place? Well, I would go through a verified communication channel to understand, is this correct? So if Best Buy Geek Squad was trying to mail me something, I would actually maybe go to Google, type it, do a search engine, don't go through the sponsored ads, remember, and then I would actually contact them and say, did you send me this? You'd actually also find on their website, maybe under scams, they would say, hey, this is what this type of threat looks like, and this is what you should watch out for. One of the best things about this, or the sneakiest ways I would say that threat actors are doing something now, is they're actually saying, hey, we've done something, like maybe this is your bank's fraud department, we've stopped something, but we have the FBI engaged, and they're actually working on the case. They're right here with us, and they want to talk to you because they believe another account of yours, might be compromised or might have some type of, thing too. So imagine you're speaking to someone. They've kind of like assured you that there's no fraud going on, that they were able to mitigate everything. They didn't ask you for anything, but then they say, hey, just one second. My manager just found out or just realized I was actually talking to you. Your number was in some system, and we're working with such and such organization, and we're going to put them on the phone to talk to you. We hope you have a nice day. And again, like your protection is our number one priority. And then you're talking to someone else, right? And it's all just part of like the type of elaborate scam. So we really have to watch out for things like this. Understand how government agencies would or would not contact you. Of course, they're trying to build urgency. They don't want you to make a decision. They don't want you to, kind of just, really have some time to think about, is this really what would happen? They're trying to move quickly. Whatever you say, they might say something different. They might even have like a whole process for, if Chuck says this, then we say that, and it's all just to kind of build your trust. With the way that things move these days, a lot of this could be extremely convincing to us because, again, I just heard that there might be some new change somewhere, and this kind of seems like it's related. So my mind is making it seem like it's okay. But definitely watch out for things like this. If there's ever anything suspicious, or you just don't feel right about it, I would say trust your gut. Hang up on them, call them back through another verified means. So don't hit redial, don't do whatever. And then just ask the situation, were you really trying to contact me for something? And if they say yes, then you can say, hey, I'm just so sorry. You never know about with scams these days, right? Like when things just kind of seem off. But of course, if they say no, that's a huge win for you because you just prevented some type of threat towards yourself. I want to quickly get into what RJ does to protect, really just affirm our approach. I'm going to just go really, really fast through this. I have some other great information after this to kind of get back into scams or threats that you may see. But we really have a four-pillar approach where we're looking to protect, detect, develop, and then partner. So for our protection methods, we often look at multiple resources. We don't ever believe that one thing is ever good enough. We might have, two or three solutions for a certain security aspect of ours that all do slightly different things. But for us, we feel like overall it's the best investment for our choice in what we're doing. And we always, want to assume that nothing could ever go right. We don't just sit our feedback on the desk and just say like, hey, everything's cool, like we've done the best we could do. Chuck's checked that 3 times. We're always thinking, what if something fails? Even to the point where we actually hire people to, I guess like test our security controls and under certain limits, and then tell us, well, like what do you think? Like, are we doing everything we could do? A lot of companies do that. They're called like penetration tests, things like that. Really great program to be testing yourselves from like an outsider perspective. And it's even really neat too, because sometimes they give them inside access. They say, hey, you're posing as an employee at Raymond James Financial, and we want you to do this, right? Can you do this? You shouldn't be able to do it, but what if, right? So lots of great things here. I really want to talk about kind of our development partnership, things and combine there. We partner with Financial Services Information Sharing and Analysis Center, so FS ISAC, FBI, Secret Service, or Department of Homeland Security, just all these things. We're trying to get the intel that's out there that's impacting the financial services, just industry. And yeah, some of our competitors are also some of our allies, especially when it comes to intelligence, because, we don't want anyone to get scammed or frauded or things like that. We want to put a stop to it as soon as possible. But we're also, we're looking for, talent just everywhere, young talent right out of college, and just all these other great things that we're doing to really ensure that we have the best people in the right spots. And this is why, if you don't know, you'll see a lot of things around Raymond James where people work 35, 40 years, 45 years. And so just because of what we do here and who we bring in. This is one of our capabilities I was mentioning. So I was talking about, we want to like protect the firm. This particular solution was within one given quarter. And this is what it did for us. 154 million emails came into Raymond James Financial, and 99 million were actually delivered. So some of them were blocked. Maybe they came from a region of the world or the globe that is like known for fraud. So we just say automatic block, things like that. But others are like, I'm getting an attachment, and this security solution opens an attachment for Chuck before he even gets it, and then decides, is this a legit attachment or is this a malicious attachment? If it's malicious, it takes it out. If it's legit, it goes to me and I have no idea. So really just great kind of example on what's happening there. And just, 154 million emails is just kind of crazy for one quarter. Our Cyber Threat Center, probably the smartest group of people that we have here, and no offense to anyone who may watch us later, they're just amazing. They amaze me every single time we have monthly meetings and they say, hey, this is the type of threat that we found there that we researched. This is what we did to stop something. Remember those tests I told you? We actually hired people to kind of like, see if they could get by one of our controls. They found them many times. Can you imagine being hired to do something and then they say, oh, we found out, we got you, because they don't know, right? They don't know that another team is doing this, because we just want to test all this stuff. And so it's just really amazing the fact that they find just everything. Now, what you're looking at here is like a map of essentially, like a bunch of alerts within one 24-hour period for us. And we have this in an animated view. It's really neat because we understand where things are coming from. We're tracking them. But more importantly, what you're seeing is things we've already defended against. We've already created rules, just things like that we're saying, not to go by. And the really cool thing that they also do is they don't just say, hey, one team is in St. Petersburg, Florida. They're going to protect the entire firm globally, and they'll all have cell phones at night for, when whoever's on call. They actually move the command leadership or who's in charge between St. Petersburg, Florida, London, England, Vancouver, Canada. And what that does is it truly has like a 24/7 hour or 24/7 support for you. So like maybe one incident started in St. Petersburg, Florida, where they started investigating, and then the London folks actually finalize it, close everything out, and they're actually delivering that report saying, this is what had occurred, this is our finding, and this is what we've done to stop any type of threat, or this is what we've done to inform our intelligence sharing services on, hey, this could be a threat in the future for other people. So just really, really amazing smart group. And then on the other side of the hall from them is this area that we call the command center. Now there is a lot more people that work there, but the point of the photo was to show you all the amount of visibility they have around applications, services that Raymond James provides. We're always trying to ensure that things are up to date, up to speed. And if something looks like it's failing a little bit, we're trying to figure out what is going on. Is there some type of cyber attack? Is there something in the news that's going off that's making everyone, kind of log in? Do we have an issue with our services that we want to make sure we don't have one, so that you could log into your accounts or to, RJ Vault and things like that? And so really amazing team that they have there, just on standby. So now I'm going to go back into like the things that could impact us, and some of these examples I have are really critical. And I'll try to hurry up because I see that we're kind of at time. AI, just AI voice in general, it's a pretty scary thing. I could have an email that I write out. My kid could write an email, and I could tell AI, make this seem like it's a financial professional advisor advising on something, and AI completely makes it better. I've actually deepfaked some voices in the firm as an example around deepfake voice, and it's pretty amazing on what that technology could do. Now, if you tell me, Chuck, should I ever answer the phone ever again? I would say yes. If you say, should I change my voicemail to go from a spoken voicemail to like a text voicemail? I would say it's really up to you. It's whatever you feel comfortable with. Because I would want to say, in my opinion, they might be able to get your voice some other way. But this is really the key thing I want to show you, or I want to tell you about, kind of like protecting against this. Have a plan. I have a family. I have a mom. I have, other family members. I let them know how I will and will not contact them. I don't want my mother to be the victim of a grandparent scam. So we've talked through those scenarios ahead of time. I've told her, this is how we will and will not contact you. This is how the kids will and will not contact you. And let's set up some secret phrases. So like if there is an emergency and you know that I say the secret phrase, then you know that it's legit. But also, don't just believe me because I say this stuff. I want you to hang up on me, and I want you to call someone else up in the event, right? So have something like that you could do, because you could really truly never know who you're speaking with. And it's so common to say, oh, I'm in the mountains, I'm driving, I'm whatever, or I've had internet issues with my phone lately, I don't know what's going on, I got to call Verizon, and it's easy to believe that something might, you just kind of connect the dots and make it real when it's really not. I'm going to play a quick video of Tom Cruise deepfake. Now the guy on the left is what this person actually looks like, but the guy in the middle, who as we all know is Tom Cruise, is who he's posing as.
I'm going to show you some magic.
Do I not have sound on?
The real thing.
So he says it's the real thing.
And
I'm sorry about that sound. I thought I had sound on.
The real.
In the video, he sounds like, and you could Google. Oh, you heard it?
We can hear it. We can hear
I'm
it.
sorry, and now I'm talking over it. But I think it's amazing because we often tell people, put your hand in front of your face so I could see if it's a deepfake. Turn your head to the side so I could see if some face snaps off. And this guy's doing everything. I'll just play it really quick while I'm kind of going through this explanation. But he's doing everything that we thought would never work. Now for you to know this, there's obviously a lot of photos on Tom Cruise. So it takes probably thousands of photos to train some type of model to do this. You also have to kind of look like the person you're impersonating. But again, I don't want us to worry about this. I don't want us to worry about voice fraud, as far as, wondering if it's an AI fake or not. I want us to have those verification protocols with your loved ones, with the organization on how you'll contact. So maybe in the future, when you start having conversations with Summit, and you say, hey, I want to set up some type of secret passphrase that Chuck was talking about, on my account, just in case, I want you to ask me this each time. I don't use this passphrase anywhere else, and I would never email it. Let's set that up, just something like that, because fraud around impersonation has always been something that's been going on.
Chuck, I'll just step in. We had a client recently have something happen that made him think that some bad guys got a lot of information. We did put a couple of passwords that only they would know into their system, and so for clients who are worried about that, obviously it's one more thing to remember and do. And I understand if everyone's not excited to do that across the board, but it is something we are thinking about and how we can help clients make sure that they're not hacked, especially in a situation where you feel like you were under threat. It's not too difficult for us to find something that's unique to your situation that no one else would know and that our team would verbally confirm with you before doing it. Because I don't know about you, but I see stuff like this. I'm like, no way. this is so scary. If they can get your voice, they can get your face. All the things we used to be able to count on maybe can't be counted on. So I know it can be kind of scary.
I want to quickly talk about data breaches and your information out there. I think in the past we would hear about a data breach, we'd be extremely concerned. I mean, I'm still concerned to this day, but I feel like when I read cyber news, I just hear about them all the time, and they've kind of like lost their touch. I'm sure there's a lot of you who've probably said, I've been given this credit monitoring service over and over again because of some type of data breach. And I want to share this site with you. Now, this QR code is legit. Oftentimes, I would tell you, don't scan on a QR code you can't trust. I would say you could scan on this one if you want, or you could go to haveibeenpwned, pwned.com, and enter your email. Now, if you don't believe Chuck, just enter anyone's first name at gmail.com and see maybe what type of data breaches they've been exposed of. But I think the real treasure here is when you use your email and maybe see that there's some data breaches that your information was a part of that you'd have never had an idea that existed. And so in this case, for national public data, the compromised data at the very bottom of this, and it might be hard to see for the some, would be date of birth, email address, gender, and things like that. Now, this information could be reused for months or even years, in convincing scams against you. And of course, breach passwords, if you reuse your password across multiple accounts, or even like a combination of it, where you say, I have this password at one account, on the other one, I add a few extra little things to it, but it's roughly the same one because, passwords are hard to remember. Use a password manager, please. But that could all be reused, so I want you to know that this is out there. And that this is something you kind of be prepared for. So then when someone says, is this your physical address? Is this your driver's license number? And you're wondering, well, how could they know unless they were really the company I'm speaking with? This may be how they know. And so just being aware of that really says a lot. And this is an example. I wanted to find out someone's information. And so one data breach had their driver's license, the other had their physical address, the other date of birth. It just so on. Threat actors or bad actors, if they're targeting you, they could really try to piece all this information together to make it extremely realistic to you and to have you think that it is your bank's fraud department calling or someone else. One of the biggest things or fastest things you could do to protect yourself against all this data being out there, maybe possibly exposed on the dark web or just anywhere, would be to freeze your credit. It protects your identity. It's not like it used to be back in the day where you would maybe do something, maybe you'd have like a small charge for it. It would take like 1 to 2 weeks. It really is instant in a lot of these cases. And just having that done as like a personal, first best practice is great. And then if you need to unfreeze it because you're making a home purchase or a car purchase, where the case is, you unfreeze it really quick online, same day, make your purchase, and then go back and freeze it. Some useful sites I want to give to you real quick at the bottom, and of course we'll have this later, is reportfraud.ftc.gov, the ic3.gov, like that I had mentioned earlier, the Internet Crime Complaint Center for FBI scams, and identitytheft.gov. Now for the FBI's website, we did have what I would think is like the top two in the FBI come speak to the firm here a couple years ago. And I'd asked them, the FBI is only just a certain size, right? Like, of course, Americans outnumber the FBI, probably 1,000,000 to 1. And I said, what does it really do when we report a scam to you? Because I just feel like I'm just a little guy, like why would you want to come protect me because someone was maybe on my computer remotely that I didn't authorize? And he had said it's really valuable information for them, because if they start seeing enough of this activity, they understand there's probably a bigger problem here, and now they need to really take action, or they're kind of just seeing where it stems from. It might be like related to something else they're working on. So I would always say to report, any type of scam or fraud that you have. Of course, if you received some type of identity protection, or hey, your information's been in this breach of ours, we want to provide you service. I would contact Summit. I would say, hey, I just want to let you know I got this, whatever the case is, just to make sure. I don't want anyone to, just have my information. What can we do to lock down my account? Call your bank up and say, hey, I was just told I was a victim of a data breach in this other organization. I want to let you know, just to be sure that no one else is posing as me. Have those conversations so that you're kind of ready to go. And really quickly here, I'm on the last few slides here. I'll end with some of the important things I think you could do. I'm not going to touch on all these things, but the top left, keep your software and devices up to date. The FBI recommends at least rebooting your mobile devices, even tablets, once a week. It never hurts to reboot your computers and things like that, or even turn them off at night when you're not needing them. But also keep them up to date. When there's a software patch available, please, take care of that. Especially as now we're hearing how AI may help, things escalate a little bit faster than they used to be. Keeping your device up to date are always important. The second thing I'd say, the top middle is always pause before acting. You don't have to make a decision today. I won't get into a long spiel, but I do phishing simulations for the firm, and I had received an email, and I'm working on a task, and I was like, oh wow, like this thing happened. Like I didn't think it could happen again. And so in my mind was connecting the dots that this is legit. But I was like, I can't be distracted now. I got to finish this task I'm on because I have a deadline here. I'm finishing my task, and it dawns on me, I thought the phishing email that I even created for the firm, I sent to myself, and it was just so realistic because it just made sense in so many ways, and I think that's probably why I chose it. But if it wasn't for me pausing, I would have tricked myself, right? How embarrassing would that have been? Of course, now it's all I hear for you to know, but I'm human just like anyone else. I have a busy day. I have things going on, and then at the bottom right, I've already spoken about freezing your credit accounts, but having multi-factor authentication. If you're going to open an account with someone and you're putting in maybe credit card, debit card, things like that, and they don't have MFA, maybe you don't want to open it up with them, or maybe you want to tell them, hey, do we have another way? If you have an account that has an option for multi-factor authentication, but you're choosing not to do it because it just seems like a little bit of a hassle, I would recommend please do it, because you would want to know if someone's trying to access your account because you keep getting texts at night with a 6-digit code versus not getting any type of code and then realizing somehow that that your information had changed. You see an email the next morning, and something like that happens. So I would always recommend to do that. Lastly, I'll talk about password strength. I'll kind of skip through this. There were weaker standards before 2023. And so it's kind of odd to see that the password cracking time for a 16-character password there in the middle is 5 billion years, and then it actually got harder in 2025. But it got harder because the people who put this together realized that organizations or companies were actually increasing their level of protection for passwords, meaning like how they hash passwords, so they're not found out. But we don't know who's doing what. We don't know if a company that we're doing business with has the weaker form of password hashing still or the stronger one. So don't look at that and say, if I use 10 characters, I'll be fine. It's 800,000 years. Like who's going to know? Always use a strong password with multiple characters, things like that. Passphrases are super popular. You could actually purple, banana, yellow, sunshine might be something easy to remember. But password managers make it just seamless for you. And lastly, I'll talk about just one type of threat. I'll really skip through this. I actually went hunting for a malicious link in a safe environment to say what would happen for an easy pass toll. And so here in the middle, it says $9.08. If you can't see, it's by the tree. I clicked on pay tolls, and then they gave me a nice pop-up saying, hey, we're going to send you to our secure website portal. So I entered my information in, of course, just skip fake information. And I've seen this a couple different ways. I enter this information, hit submit, it kind of goes through with it. And of course, this is not a real card number. Or I enter my information and they say, can you please give us a 5-digit code that your bank has sent you? Because we want to be sure that we're still secure here. They're setting up fake digital wallets. This is all fraud. Of course, the domain it's coming from doesn't look like that. But if you go to SunPass for Florida, well, that's kind of what SunPass's website looks like. I think I even clicked on the links in the bottom, and those were legit. So like they used a bunch of legitimacy, maybe in case someone else did that too. But I would just watch out for any type of of course text that you receive like this. Don't click on suspicious links. Look for red flags, typos, things like that. You never really know. And I have seen one kind of clever scam where someone says, hey, I'm your bank's fraud department. Something's suspicious, but I have to verify you first. I'm going to tell you the first 8 digits of your credit card that you have with us, or your debit card, and I'm going to name them off. They name them off, and they say, okay, now is that correct for you? And you say yes. Well, and then they say, okay, well, now you verify your last 8. And some people don't know that in order for transactions to kind of find out where they originated from, the first 8 digits of a credit card or debit card identify back to that bank, and it's all public. You could look it up. You could Google, I forget what it's called, BIN, I think BIN is the number for that. So just kind of knowing how threat actors may kind of try to compromise you or attack you is always huge, and it always seems like they're always one step ahead. Lastly, I want to kind of revert back to how I started, that your security is our priority. Truly, should anything happen to your account through no fault of your own here at Raymond James, we will reimburse you. That is our cybersecurity assurance or a commitment to you. This is something that we have on our website, and we really stand strongly behind this, especially in a day where your breach information could be out there. Someone's posing as you and trying to do this attacks. And I want to end that with the ever safe, like planning or protection that I know Summit provides for you. It's everything says here, fraud doesn't always start inside your account. Remember those data breaches I showed you about that you go to haveibeenpwned.com. There's information there linking things together. Scams are constantly happening nonstop. And EverSafe provides 24/7 monitoring, pattern-based alerts. So maybe if they realize that you're in a different country, they might have some type of alert saying, hey, this isn't normal like this, or you don't typically make purchases at midnight or 1 a.m. or 2 a.m., but now you are. What's going on here? And it's really just an additional visibility layer for you to know if anything's suspicious before anything suspicious occurs. It's a really amazing service. And I actually like, you never think about planning when you think about it. An emergency happened to me. How do I know that my wife has all of our passwords, all of our accounts, just all that stuff that we would think about, just in a family or just whatever the case is. There's also something here for you within EverSafe to do all that planning too, so that if you needed to designate someone as maybe a just in case, they would have that information just in case and be able to take care of things for you. Nathan?
Yeah, you bet. We will send a link with the recording from today because for clients of our practice, we've actually purchased EverSafe for them. So there'll be a special link that you can use if you'd like to make use of that service. We paid for it for you. We think it matters. Just trying to do everything we can to add to it. I will say, and Chuck doesn't need the kudos, but part of the reason that Summit chose to be affiliated with Raymond James is that cybersecurity protection. It is the $1 billion they spend on technology. It is that opportunity for us to have that backstop around us because it's a scary world out there, and we want to make sure that we're doing everything in our power. And while we're a growing firm and we're large in the independent space, we'd never be able to compete with what Raymond James could do at their scale. So it's just important to us to have that there. Chuck, I really appreciate it. There's some of that's so scary. I think the coolest part of this whole presentation was the fact that you admitted to almost getting got by your own phishing scams that get us all the time. We're always looking at it. I feel like on my phone, I'm more susceptible than on my desktop because you don't read the things the same way and notice the weird little URL addresses that are incorrect. But Chuck's team does a good job of making sure to keep us honest and paying attention to what's going on in cybersecurity as well. I hope you enjoyed our time today. Chuck, we certainly enjoyed you taking time for us. We really appreciate it on a Friday. And we wish everyone a wonderful weekend. Those of you who couldn't attend live, we'll get you this recording soon and check out what you need to know about cybersecurity. Everybody have a fantastic weekend.
Thank you.